The 51st chapter, Parak Nun Aleph, Shemu Elai Rotfei Tzedek Mevakshi Adonai, Habitu El Tzur Chutzavtem, V'el Makevet Bor Nukartem. Listen to me, those who pursue justice. And here we've talked about, right, Tzaddik, Tzedek is a justice, is somebody who's victorious. Here what's being understood as being Tzedek, right? And this is like back in Sefer Devarim, Tzedek, Tir Dov, back in Parshat Shoftim. Those who are pursuing justice, those who are looking for God. Look to the rock where you were taken from, where you were hewn from, and to the quarry where you were dug from, right? Look into your history. That's where God is. That's where God made you. Commentaries say this reference to Avram, perhaps. And here we see it. Habitu el Avraham avichem v'el Sarah techolelelchem ki echad kira'ativ v'avarchehu v'arbehu. So look back to Avram, your father, and Sarah, who birthed you. He was the only one when I called him. But because of him, he was blessed and he became many. And it's interesting to think about that. He's the only one when I called him. Like God was calling, makes it sound like to many, many people. And the only one who responded was Avraham. Avram was the only one who was able to take on God's message. We know Avram, but maybe God said, Lech lecha to other righteous people, and maybe they didn't come. Seems to be in some ways an implication of this verse. Ki nicham Adonai Tzion, nicham kol chorvoteha. Vayasem midbara ke'eden va'arvatak gan Adonai sason v'simcha yimatzeh ba toda v'kol zimra. God has comforted Zion, right? Back in chapter 41, where this 40, where the section sort of began with Nachamu Ami, the Haftorah we will read tomorrow. And here is saying God has comforted Zion. It's like it's afterwards. God has comforted, in a sense, has rebuilt all of her ruins and has taken the desert and made it like Eden, like the garden of God. And what is found in Jerusalem now? Not devastation, not destruction, not horror, but rather joy and happiness, thanksgiving, and the sound of music. I don't know if they were showing the sound. The hills are alive with the sound of music. Hakshivu elai ami ulumi elai hazinu ki Torah meiti tetzei umishpati laor amim argia. So listen to me, my people. Take the plugs out of your ears, my nation, because teaching will come forth from me to give light to the people, right? We used to have a couple of times the phrase or goyim, basically the same phrase used here, laor amim, right? In a moment, I will bring it forth. And this recalls in many ways, all the way back to chapter 2, where Kimi Tzion Tetzei Torah. It's from Zion. We just talked about that. For Zion has been redeemed, and Yeshayah is speaking on behalf of God and from Jerusalem. And so it seems to be we're going back to this messianic, this beautiful prophecy, like in chapter 2, all the way back then, turning their swords into plowshares. Karov tzidki yatsa yish'i uzroa amim yishpotu elai yim yikavu v'el zroi yechalun. The triumph is near. And again, here it's tzadki. Is it triumph? Or is it the righteousness? The justice is near. The salvation that's coming forth. My arms will provide for all people, will provide justice. Even the coasts or the islands will have hope, and they will look to me. Se'ula shamayim einechem. Raise your eyes to the heaven. V'habitu el haaretz mitachan, and look down at the earth below. Yishamayim ke'ashan nimlachu v'aretz kabeged tivlev yoshveh kamochen yemutun v'yeshuati leolam tiyeh v'tzidkati lo techat. Even though the heavens will melt away like smoke and the earth will wear out like a garment and its inhabitants will die, my victory or my justice will stand forever. My triumph, God says, my justice will remain. And this, right, sounds like we could say like a war of Gog and Magog, apocalyptic battle at the end of time, or perhaps just, destruction of the, getting rid of the evil, like we've talked about the destruction of Bavel and others. We're in verse 7, Pasuk Zayin. Shemu elai yodei tzedek am torati belivam al tiru cherpat enosh umigi difotam al techatu. So listen to me, those who care for righteousness, for justice. Listen to my instruction, place it in your hearts, like back into the book of Dvarim, right? The Torah has to be al livavchem v'al nafshechem. Don't be scared of insult. Don't be dismayed by their jeers, by their mockery. Ki chabeged yochleim ash, v'katzemer yochleim sas, v'tzidkati liolam tiyeh vishuati l'dor dorim. Because moths will eat their garments, the worm will eat them up like wool. But my tzedek, my justice, or my victory will be eternal. My salvation will be something that occurs l'dor vador, for all generations. We still await these days. Uri livshi oz, zroa Adonai, uri kime kedem dorot olamim, halo athi hamachzevet rahav mecholelet tanin. Awake, wake up, clothe yourselves in splendor and beauty. Look at the arm of the Eternal One. Awake like the days of old. It was you that hacked, that smashed Rachav into pieces, that pierced the dragon, the Tanin, a dragon or some sort of beast of the water. It sounds very mythic, and we talked in the past about the mythology that's oftentimes mentioned by the prophets. Doesn't mean they believed in the mythology, but it's a good reference point. It's something that everybody understands that language. We've mentioned over the course of the last number of days that we're going to have a lot of beautiful phrases that we see in Tefillah and other places, like earlier, Ki nicham Hashem Tzion. And here, right, Uri live she owes. It's paraphrased in Lechadodi, as we mentioned in the past, we would see it. Halo ati hamacharevet yam mei tahom rabah hasama me'am keyam derech la'avor gu'ulim. It was you that dried up the sea, the waters of the great deep, that made the abysses of the sea a road that the redeemed might walk. Again, God being this, right? God created the world, and now mythically God can do these things to change the world. And here we have another verse that's also in Tefillah. Uftuye Adonai yeshuvun uvo Tzion berina v'simchat olam al rosham sason v'simcha yasigun nasu yagon va'anacha. So let those who were ransomed will be returned by God. And they will come to Yerushalayim, to Zion, now that they've been redeemed and returned, with joy and happiness and singing. And think about like Al Rosham, to say the opposite way we talk about, right, at the time of devastation, about we had in the last chapter, turning the sort of your hats and your into sackcloth and ashes on the head as a sign of suffering. And so here it's Simchat Olam, the eternal joy is on their heads. Let them attain joy and gladness while sorrow and worry leave. Anochi hu menachnechem miat v'tir'i mi'anosh yamut mi ben adam chatzir yinatein. I am the one who comforts you. I am the one who will take away your fear. Men who must die, mortals who fare like grass. This is the Haftorah of Parshat Shoftim. I know that because my bar mitzvah parsha. It's a few weeks this Haftorah. V'tishkach Adonai osecha notei shamayim v'yosei haaretz v'tifka'ed v'tifachei tamid kol hayom mipnei chamat hametzik kasher konein la'ashchit. You forgot God, your maker, the one who stretched out the heavens, the one who made the foundation of the earth. And you were scared all days because of the oppressors, because of their chama, because of their raging anger. They wanted to destroy you. Mihar tzoeli pateach. But quickly, the one who is crouching, the one who's hiding is free. He's not cut down. He will not want for food. You're suffering now, but it will not remain. I am the eternal God who stirs up the seas into roaring waves. Adonai tzvot shemo. I am the God of hosts. I put my words in your mouth and sheltered you with my hand. I, the one who planted skies and made firm the earth, have said to Zion, you are my people, right? You're worried now, but take my words and put them in your mouth and know that you will be saved. Hit oriri, right? More of Lichadodi. Kumi Yerushalayim asher shatit miyal Adonai kos chamato et kubaat kos hatarela shatit matzit. So wake up. Arise, Jerusalem. You who from God's hand have drunk the wrath-filled cup, right? Jerusalem was destroyed. Its people were destroyed. Its temple was burned. But now it's time to get up, right? You have drained to the dregs the bowl, the cup, right? You were overwhelmed by this cup, all this suffering, but it's time for it to stop. Ein menahel la mikol banim yalada. There's no one to guide her of all the children that she bore. V'ein machazik biyada mikol banim gidela. And there's none to take her by the hand and lead her from all of the children that she raised. Right? Israel has no leaders. It has nobody to lead it. Like when you had Moshe and we had Shtayim Heina Karatayich Miyanud Lach. These two bad things have befallen you. Hashod v'hashever, rack and ruin. V'harav, v'acherev, famine and sword. Mihanachamech. How will you be comforted? Your sons lie at the corner of every street like an animal caught in a net. They have absorbed the wrath of God with the rebuke of God. Lachein sheminazot oniyah ushechurat velo miyai. And listen to this, you unhappy, you poor person who are drunk but not with wine. Right? You've suffered, Jerusalem, you've suffered, the Jewish people, you've suffered. So God says that cup of suffering, all the pain that you have gone through, I'm taking it away. It's not going to be there anymore, and you will never drink it again. V'samtiha biyad mogayich, and instead, I'm going to pour it on to your tormentors. Asher amru l'nafshech shechi v'na'avora. The ones who said, get down so we can walk over you. V'tasimi karetz gevech v'chachutz la'ovrim. They tell you to lie down on the ground and they're going to step over you, step on you. Well, that's not going to happen anymore, says Yeshayah. You've suffered enough, and now it's time to get up. Be confident in the knowledge that God is going to redeem you, putting these words of joy and happiness into your mouths that will turn from disaster to joy. Interestingly, in this last verse, we have this phrase, the phrase where it said, so when they said, get down on the ground, we can walk over you, I believe that phrase was in one of the keynotes from yesterday on Tisha B'Av, talking about, it was in the context of destruction, not in the context of happiness, where it talked about the 10 martyrs, and they were sort of walked over by their enemies. And so here again, the Bnei Israel suffering, worried, concerned, but Yeshayah says to them, you will be redeemed. Everything will be okay, will turn out the way that we want it to. Joy and happiness will happen. And then ultimately, right, God says, Uftuye Hashem Yeshuvun, we saw in the middle of the verse, you who in a sense are captive to the Babylonians, to the Assyrians, to all of the enemies who have taken you, God is going to take us back and return us to Jerusalem, Birina, with joy and gladness and happiness.